fantastic. They're bound to be amazing matches of the highest quality. I can assure that. I don't know about Josh, whether he can assure it, but me personally, I guarantee you that you want to be sticking around for all however many hours we're going to be here for. But the first one, what Josh, you want to say something?
I'm not going to give any assurances or guarantees, Brent, but yeah, I think these games are actually going to be pretty good. We've got some tight games coming up. But why are you selling the people promises early on in the day?
That's what I do, you know. I'm a snake oil salesman at heart. It's, you know, I like to sometimes dress things up a little bit. But in case you don't know us, my name is Brent. I'm joined by Josh. We're going to be bringing you the action for the games today. I assume you've just been watching the Watchpoint pre-show where they've been discussing some of it. But let's take a look at the match at hand. We've got Florida versus Paris. Let's take a look at the Florida starting rosters, their lineup here. As you can see, pretty standard stuff from what we've seen. And for me personally, Josh, I'm looking at this Florida squad and I'm hoping that they are able to step up a little bit now to the plate of the Paris Eternal. I want to see some more out of Florida because this is a team that just seems to get bullied and beaten around on a regular basis.
Well, that's fairly true, yeah, and they haven't been great historically. They actually have less franchise wins overall than Paris, despite having a year's head start. But they've had a really tough schedule so far. They've played against some of the big hitters in the Atlantic Division, and unfortunately, Paris are just another one that they're going to have to go through. But I kind of believe in this team. They've got quite a bit of talent. I don't think they're going to be hanging around at the bottom of the table for too long.
Well, let's take a look at the Paris Eternals roster as well on the other side of things. The one thing you're probably going to notice is Exy is not on this roster. He's not present. Soon is going to be playing instead of him. That's because he has a neck injury, I believe. He's back in Korea. But still a lot of talent packed into this Paris roster. Definitely still a formidable team, despite the fact that they've lost one of their star players.
Oh, absolutely. And Exy was one of the runners for Rookie of the Year from what we've seen of him so far. But you've gone from a really talented rookie to a very talented and very solid veteran presence there with Soon. And Soon actually comes into this with a 16.8% first elim rate, which I know is just going to sound like a random number to you, but that's actually 7th overall. So Soon is no slouch whatsoever either. And when you take a look at the maps coming up as well, Hanamura and Rialto, the only maps where Mayhem have a positive win rate all time. The only maps. So, not too bad.
Yeah, and those are the maps we're going to be seeing here. As you take a look through the map set, you can see Rialto and Hanamura. 2 maps that we will be seeing, at least in the second. Potentially Hanamura. You know, I don't want to guarantee that this game will be more than 3 maps. Could end up.
You were giving guarantees earlier, Brent.
Okay, but here's the thing. Listen, I can't promise that. As much as I like to shout that I am omniscient, I'm not at the end of the day. We're going to be heading into the match shortly. But, you know, from what you've said about those map statistics, it seems that Florida, they do have a chance here. And I don't want to make this out to be like it's going to be a one-sided affair, because with Florida Mayhem, they've revamped their roster year after year. And they've come up with this team that you're seeing on your screens right now. Is it going to be enough to go up against the Paris Eternal? Might just go back on my words and say no. Might just say stick it out. You know, we might be surprised here, because here's the thing with hero pools as well, Josh. Anything can happen. Anything can change on a regular basis.
We've also seen some really strange compositions happening this week based on hero pools. I mean, think back to how salty the LA Gladiators were when they came out with a win over the Valiant, and how strange those compositions were. But it seems like both teams at the moment running fairly default stuff. May Reaper coming out from the Florida Mayhem, and a Reaper Doomfist for Paris. Letting Nico flex onto that hero. Huge
oh my goodness. Nozmite gets the halt of the century, pulls all of Florida together. And Florida have just been absolutely melted. And those kind of halts is really the bread and butter of these kind of Orisa compositions. You just get absolutely collapsed on. That was, I think, the most value I've ever seen a Seismic Slam get in Overwatch history. Nico got a 6-man Seismic Slam, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, and those are really crucial, actually, to being able to get the most out of your Doomfist, because it provides him with so many more shields to be able to play aggressively right afterwards. You know, the amount of shielding you get on the Doomfist is based on how much work you get done with those abilities, like the Seismic Slam, like the Uppercut. So Nico there was perfectly happy to play aggro. And now Florida back in the attacking position.
Yeah, Coalescence is going to be used early, along with the May Wall from Florida, just trying to separate Paris. They've done that successfully, but the question is, can they get a kill? Struggling to really collapse onto anyone. Hambin falling very, very low. There's a Gravitic Flux, though. This is going to be securing at least one. Indeed it does. Hambin falling in the fray. Paris, though, still in this fight, remember, at this point. They want to try and contest this with a sound barrier. Gets unleashed, utilized. Bit of superior health points to see if they can push forward and get a pick or two. Nico using the meteor strike, though, to survive. A couple of players still being lost here as Florida seem to have the edge in the fight at hand. Nice little hold into accretion. Means that Florida are going to be winning this team fight. Question is, can they cap it in a reasonable time? That's the trouble with the control center, Josh, is, you know, despite the fact that you might win the team fight within the first 5 seconds, they can always just get that little bit of extra control point percentage.
They certainly can. And Florida are looking to really establish a forward hold here. If they can get good May walls off in this choke point, then Paris should be suffering a little bit, but this Gravitic Flux could do amazing damage. The fact that both teams traded out their sound barrier in the previous fight gives Hanbin an opportunity, but Yaki's Blizzard just does too much work, zoning people out, getting the damage through, and Gananjin's Coalescence soaks them up. It was a nice try from the Paris Eternal. I like what they were going for, but they'll need a little more than that to be able to break through that first choke.
Coalescence is coming out from both his teams there, but it is the Florida Mayhems who came out on top, obviously, with the Supercharger as well on top of it. And as you said, Yaki's Blizzard really getting all the value there. One of the reasons why you do run the May is because you have that hard lockdown with the Blizzard, with the freezes. One of the main selling points, at least these days. But it's Paris' turn to try and counter-attack this one. So you can see they're rotating. The speed boost available with them as FD God's on his primed Lucio roll. Something that he's known for. I'm just going to wait to see.
Yeah, my eyes at the moment are on Nico as well. Nice halt, but no value really gotten there for the Florida Mayhem. Soon's going to teleport in towards the back end as well. Just going to distract for a little while, and Nico's been taken down. Yeah. That's so unfortunate because he was really the person that was supposed to make everything happen.
And with Nico falling there, you lose a lot of damage output. As you said, Josh, he's the person who's supposed to be getting stuff done. Florida have heavily pushed back the Paris Eternal. Paris just trying to get out of there. Using the shields, using the accretion, using the coalescence just to try and punish now the Florida Mayhem for playing too aggressively into them. But the Blizzard, the halt, everything is perfect right now for the Florida Mayhem. The coordination is fantastic. And BQB with 4 kills. His team set him up for that one. He's going to be the star of the show for now. 90% and counting on the control point. And the Florida Mayhem look to be in total control of this one. Paris Eternal going to struggle to even get a single foot on this point.
Yeah, I don't think they're even going to be able to capture, to even be able to contest, sorry. And FD God, he went for it, but they knew exactly what he was going for. 100% ticks over to the Florida Mayhem. No overtime, and the underdogs are in a great position right at the beginning here. It's a very interesting scenario that we're in because Paris are considered a top team, but we haven't really seen them run this kind of composition before. Whenever Reinhardt's out and they have to put in No Smite instead of Ben Best, this team looked a little weaker, but with FD God on the Lucio and Soon and Nico still there at the front lines, I thought this would still be a fairly good meta for the Paris Eternal, but it seems like Florida Mayhem with their May Reaper putting a lot of pressure on Paris early on in this control map.
Yeah, it's a classic comp that we've seen so far over the course of the Overwatch League season. Florida, they executed it pretty nicely, I would say. Their ults coming online effectively, rotating them in and out. They know exactly how to play into the Paris Eternal. Now, question is, can they do it again? Or will Paris battle back and take this to the 3rd round? As you can see, the teams are clashing. Nice halt coming out from Florida once more. Big boop though from FD God. He's going to collect the kill there onto Hanbin. Takes out Gargoyle. It's going to be the 1-for-1 trade, though, as he did trade his own life in the end. And Florida are pushing into them now with the Reaper shotguns, slamming in the damage. BQB is the one to once more collect the kills for his team. And it is going to be the point unlocked eventually here for the Florida Mayhem. Another wonderful execution set up off the back of Fate's own halts once more on the Orisa.
Yeah, and I like the way that the Florida Mayhem are playing, but I am a little surprised that Nico isn't trying to move over to the May. May Reaper, Reaper Doomfist, these are all reasonable compositions to be able to use this week, but Nico just isn't getting enough done on the Doomfist. Yeah, he's had some cool seismic slams and uppercuts set up with a halt, but the actual picks don't appear to be really happening just yet.
Well, coalescences are online now for both these teams. Florida almost with the Blizzard as well. Yaki's going to be looking to try and use that. Another great halt from Fate. Nico forced the seismic slam up to safety here, whilst the teams engage on the low ground, and it's BQB once more who comes out on top, putting on an absolute show with the help of his team. Yaki setting him up with the Blizzard, and the kills will just start flowing in from Florida Mayhem. Yaki giving him the old tactical crouch. Avert your eyes if you're under the age of 13.
This is a tough situation for Paris Eternal. They've used both of their support ults, and the enemy team now, Florida, is going to be heading up with their Supercharger with their gravitic flux and with a sound barrier of their own.
Yeah.
I mean, even if Gargoyle just uses his gravitic flux here, Paris really have nothing to be able to answer it with. And this is just going to keep on ticking. Florida are in a great position to just take this map.
That's
beautiful pick,
Nico. Great opening pick down to Yaki, takes him out. I was going to force Florida to use ultimates to try and contest this one further. The sound barrier by Chris gets a little bit of work done here, but a supercharger from Fate is destroyed instantly. Paris have executed this fight effectively with the opening picks they need, but the gravitic flux should seal the deal here for Florida. Coalescence on top will just hose down the opposition, and Paris forced to back off. They have one more opportunity here, but not a terrible fight, all things considered, when you think about the ultimates they forced out of Florida.
Definitely. That first pick didn't really make the fight winnable so much as it forced out a lot more ultimates from the Florida Mayhem than they would have liked. And now with 5 seconds left, Paris just looking to touch the point. It is actually Reaper Doomfist mirror right now. So as we go into overtime, Soon gets demolished.
That's a great punish from Florida Mayhem, spotting that he didn't have the Wraith Form, the Wraith Walk available to him. Seismic Slam from Yaki ran into the back line, but the kill feed is just lighting up from the Florida Mayhem right now. Overtime is ticking, but this fight, it just seems over at this point. No one able to touch, and Florida Mayhem come out swinging, taking the first control map in a very dominant fashion. That's what you like to see, upsetting all expectations. And we have a game on our hands, because a lot of people were coming into this, myself included, I'll admit, thinking that this is going to be quite a one-sided affair based on the way Paris are playing. But Florida have shown up, and they've shown up well.
Yeah, definitely. I'm so excited for this because I really feel like this Florida Mayhem team has not been able to showcase what they're capable of just yet. And if they're able to give a close game or maybe even steal a win here against the Paris Eternal, it will really put them on the radar of decent Atlantic teams right now. This is a great start for a Florida team that desperately needs it.
All right, well, we're going to go to a short break now, but when we come back, we're going to have map 2 of this series coming right up.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Cheez-It Groups. Deep flavor, deep crunch, it's a mind crunch. And by Zip Chair Gaming, the official chair supplier of the Overwatch League.
Yes.
Six, 7, 8.
Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
Welcome back, everybody. Yep, that sure was a dominant performance from the Florida Mayhem, wasn't it? If you're just joining us, we are part of the way through the first series of the day, which is going to be, of course, the Florida Mayhem versus the Paris Eternal. And my word, didn't the Florida Mayhem show up a little bit, didn't they?
Yeah.
Something that we weren't quite expecting, but they've definitely done their prep. They seem to have found that, you know, the old tried and tested double shield with the May and the Reaper seems to still be quite effective, doesn't it, if you don't really know how to play into it.
Yeah, definitely. And I would also say that it's a little strange that we're seeing the Florida Mayhem running more of the May than the Paris Eternal. Paris have been doing incredibly well on the May so far. Nico is a very intelligent May player as well, and I would consider his May to be far better than his Doomfist. Now you look over to the other side on the Florida Mayhem, and Yaki actually does have a very solid Doomfist. Yeah. So if I was coming into this match, I honestly expected it to be the other way around.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? It's shaping up to be quite a good series, actually, all things considered. Paris Eternal, though, no slouches in terms of being a team that can bounce back when the going gets rough. Definitely partly attributed to their coaching staff that they've got behind them as well. But we're going to be heading into the map shortly enough. Any individual performances that you've been impressed by so far, Josh?
Well, I think it's more about Paris adapting to the May, honestly. I don't really think that it was an individual performance-based thing from Florida, more so than executing the teamwork fairly well and having a strategy that Paris really struggled to deal with, because the Reaper Doomfist really does rely on getting, if not regular, then at least some picks with the Doomfist to be able to get in. You're very much relying on your Doomfist to do a lot of work in those fights, because otherwise the May walls are just going to seal you off. So as we head into Rialto, though, I do want to bring up this little statistic again, that Rialto is one of only 2 maps where Florida Mayhem have an overall positive win rate, all time. So that includes 2018, 2019, whatever they've played so far in 2020 on this map as well. It has been fairly decent for them. So we'll see whether that continues. They do still have a number of players that were with them throughout the last couple of years. And generally speaking, they've run a lot of May on this map in the past before as well.
Yeah, Rialto, a map where, especially if you start holding them before the first choke point on the first section, May can be very potent in terms of individual hero picks. Paris Eternal looking to be teasing us a little bit with potentially a Pharah. Sometimes you do see Pharah on this first section of Rialto.
Yeah, Pharah Hangzhou is a very reasonable pick coming out from this first gate, because the amount of shield damage you do just burns down Fate. And you can try and set up multiple angles with Nico coming up over the top. So I'm interested to see what they do here.
Nice little headshot from Soon. Great rockets as well from Nico. He's dodging the Halt. Halt is really one of the only key abilities that the Florida Mayhem have to deal with Nico while he's in the air.
Although Yaki was hitting a lot of icicles there.
Yaki on the May still putting in work, as you can see. Ooh, Nico falling very low, has to back off, has to drop down. And they're just putting in enough spam to just try and keep him at bay, but it's quite difficult when they're running the fire. Now, Ambin is locked up in the upper section of the map, but the rest of the team is there to back him up now as Soon picks off a player or two. Nico follows up with the own barrage, taking out Yaki. The damage dealers pretty much down and out. BQB makes a switch over to the Ash. And Yaki over to the Tracer, I should say. So Florida forced off a lot of their picks here to try and contest with the Paris Eternal what they're running, but they're making switches of their own now as Nico moves over to the Sombra.
Yeah, the Sombra Hangzhou. Okay, that is a very strange one. We've seen a lot of swaps so far in this match, and we saw a lot in the Battle for LA as well, where the Ash was being run quite a lot of the time. Ash very effective against Safara, sure, but maybe not so much against the Hangzhou Doomfist composition that Paris are currently running. But it's going to be difficult for Soon to do too much through this tiny little choke point.
Yeah, it's a hard point to try and push through now. The Halt comes out, Coalescence as well. They're going to try and combo up as much of it as humanly possible here, and that dynamite damage comes out, but Soon answers back. The Dragon Strike is massive. Oh my goodness. Follow-up kills on top with the damage boost. That's going to be 4 for him, and he just cracked open his first point like it was nothing.
Yep. I mean, as soon as they forced the Pharah off, I thought the BQB was going to return over to the Reaper and they'd be able to take the fight on the floor. But even then, even with them running May Ash, Soon needed to do something huge, and he found the perfect flank angle to get a Dragon Strike onto both tanks of the Florida Mayhem. Now Florida make the switch back over to the May Reaper, and they're just trying for some huge aggression. Oh my word! The Halt Rock into the canal.
Mate, that was...
Good night, No Smite FD God.
That was ridiculous. Halt into the accretion, into the boop, all combo together. It was Gargoyle that got the kills at the end, but that was a team effort there.
Yeah.
They just got sent flying. Straight into
so
the
good.
drink. Beautiful play. We'll see how Paris decides to answer back, but look at the aggression by Florida. Supercharger comes down the wall to block them all out. The Gravitic Flux sends them straight up into the air. Gargoyle is farming. The damage numbers are all his. He's hunting for some sort of award at the end of the day. I think you're a little bit too late for the 4,000 final blows, but you'll be able to catch up soon enough.
Yeah, a bit too much of a rookie to be able to get those in. Although this is his second year, so not technically a rookie. I want to just point people's attention to the ult economy of the Florida Mayhem. Even though they used both tank ultimates, they still have a Sound Barrier and a Blizzard and a Coalescence, and they'll be charging up those tank ultimates again. It's part of what makes Mei so powerful is that her ult is phenomenal, but that pick is crucial.
That's exactly what they needed.
Yaki.
Yaki going down, misses the Blizzard. Chris is going to try and clutch it up, though, with some nice little boots there. Nosmy and Chris as well, definitely putting in a ton of work here. See though if he can follow it up, if it's enough. I think that's actually almost a solo carry Lucio performance. Florida have to back off though here. They've lost too many players, and the superior spawns come in for Paris, so they can keep running them down. As you can see, players are ready and waiting, the spam being sent in, but that bought them a crucial bit of time now for Florida to regroup, and now they can fight with the high ground here.
Yes, and this is where the Blizzard has to find some kind of value here, or they might just be able to get a pick with the walls, trying to push Hanbin out of position. He's forced to use the Gravitic Flux.
Yeah, we see Ultimates being forced out here. Gravitic Flux is going to catch onto a few. BQB dodges it, using his Wraith form, but Paris are just happily pushing this cart forward. Florida going to be hunting for a couple of picks now. As you can see, the Blizzard is utilized. It's going to freeze up 1 or 2 targets, and that's going to allow Florida Mayhem to collect as many kills as they possibly can. The eliminations start flowing. Oh, no. Gray. Did they know?
Oh my word, they don't know.
They don't know.
I was going to say, the Florida Mayhem do not mind if they push the payload, because they just need to win the fight. But Gray is going for the back cap.
Gray?
They still haven't realized. Oh, now Chris sees it.
They've realized. Okay. All right. I mean, he's not getting out of that one, but I can respect the effort. Plays like that. Florida Mayhem thankfully keeping an eye on the objective timers there. Yeah. My heart skipped a beat.
I really thought that that's the kind of thing that could throw a team like the Florida Mayhem off. You know, they're trying their best to just stay toe-to-toe and stay ahead of the Paris Eternal. All of their attention on the next fight. Gray could have sneaked a back cap in there, snuck a back cap in there, but that's more like Soon's duty, really, right?
Yeah. That is
Gray trying to do a Soon impression.
Something that he's quite famous for. He's had a couple of them in his history and his careers. But now Florida, they've got the Supercharger to work with. They lay it down using the Ice Wall for a bit of defensive cover. That follows it up with their own Death Blossom as well. BQB happily going to be claiming 2. Writing them off his Death Note. Make it 3. Make it 4. Can we count even higher? Probably not. But
counting with Bren. Yep. Counting with Bren.
It wouldn't be the first time.
The Florida Mayhem here are playing a really nice tempo. They're turning it up, they're playing aggressive so that Nico can't even get into position, can't find an opportunity to get picks before the Florida Mayhem have just bundled into them and turned up the pace, killed them with one of their ults. So I like the tempo that Florida are playing at, but what is the game plan here for Paris? Are they just going to continue running Reaper Doomfist even if it doesn't work at all? Nico, he's found a couple of picks and he's won them a couple of team fights, but it hasn't been consistent.
Nice little ult to gain into coalescence. Florida Mayhem have been so good at actually comboing up that ult with just key abilities, and they found another teamfight win with only 16 seconds remaining for Paris. I don't think anybody's able to touch. Someone's going to have to make a switch over to some sort of stall hero, maybe the Wrecking Ball, but it's brutal because Nosmite is so close to his own. Okay, Nico's going to end up using a Meteor Strike to try and contest this one. Yaki uses the Ice Block, instantly takes him out. Overtime is going to start ticking now. Soon finds a kill into Gangnam Jin. It's going to take a miracle though. FD God finds himself flowing into the fray here. The Gravitic Flux off onto the flank is going to be connecting onto one into the backline. That's Hanbin trying to make some magic happen, but it's far too late for any sort of nuisance, for any sort of flanking sort of plays, because the Florida Mayhem have absolutely cleaned this one up. And as the overtime will start to burn down, you're going to find them full holding them, I should say, round this little corner U-bend in the second section of Rialto. Nicely done from Florida. I think I got to give credit to Fate overall here. His halts have been magnificent in setting up the rest of his team.
Yeah, I definitely agree. His halts have been good. The Superchargers have also been very good, very clean play. But not just from him, but from everybody on the Florida Mayhem. Gargoyle's been right there, taking positions, utilizing his accretions really well. Yaki and BQB have been a really deadly duo at the front as well. I think, though, they look even better because Paris haven't come up with an idea of how to break this May Reaper composition effectively. The Reaper Doomfist is good if your Doomfist can get into position, and if he can get into places to secure kills early on, or at least to disrupt, get in the backline, pull people around. But instead, they really didn't find any value from that Reaper Doomfist at all. They won one fight with it. One. And the rest of their push was basically gained with Soon on the Hangzhou and Nico, broadly speaking, on the Pharah. So, even though this is still winnable for Paris, you can certainly see fuller holes, as Achilles likes to say, on Rialto. You can have stronger defenses than the one that Mayhem just put up. Mayhem are in a great position to get a very early 2-0 lead in this series, something that nobody was really expecting, especially with it being this dominant.
Yeah. You're really going to throw Achilles under the bus like that?
Oh, that's his phrase. That's his little cliche. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's the fuller hold.
Okay.
Referencing, of course.
Josh, I really appreciate that. Going to be having to have a chat with you after the after this little cast. But for now, Florida Mayhem are going to be opting to change things up. Actually, going to be rolling Soldier 76 and Tracer. Oh, the halt though. BKB falling down to about half HP. Luckily, his team are there to heal himself up. Different approach to almost the. Oh, nice hold up into the sky. Almost takes out FD God, but it's a different approach to try and counteract what Paris are running. You have a lot of long-range capabilities with the Soldier 76 to try and pressure out this Pharah pick. And you can see how much trouble Nico is having to just get anything done here.
Yeah, and the Tracer will be able to harass the Hangzhou and the backline as well. So definitely potential for Soon to be able to find just an immediate pick. But if he doesn't, he's going to spend half of his time just dueling this Tracer.
Yep, it's pretty brutal. See, Yaki is getting a lot of work. He's just distracting the backline, and his job here is done. He goes in there. You might think, well, Yaki, you haven't really done anything, but much like that weird anime magician meme, which I don't know the origin of. I think it might be Sailor Moon, but he just goes in there, he distracts, and that allows Florida Mayhem to clean up the front line.
Attention is a resource, and I mean, that's a bit of a meme, but it's absolutely true. If Soon can't do anything in the fight, then they don't have that incredible shield break, and so BQB and Yaki just have all the room they need to be able to do to, you know, BQB can focus with Gargoyle, focus on taking out the Pharah, and the DPS are totally useless from Paris.
This is a completely different side of Florida Mayhem that none of us were expecting, but I'm pleasantly surprised by it because they are playing and forcing Paris to play up to their sort of tempo. He could be going to be using his own tactical visor. You can see, oh my
word.
Okay, it's pretty huge. Follows it up.
It's been a while since we saw a nano visor, honestly, Bren, but it brings back good memories.
Yeah.
Absolutely melting everybody.
That was a little bit monstrous there. And I think last night, I think it was Wolf and Achilles who were making comments saying, you know, it's been a while since we've seen a visor get any kills, but it definitely feels like a rarity. Florida Mayhem making it work though, and now they've made even more switches. Paris Eternal are sweating right now. Look at the position they're in. They do have a supercharger, but Florida matching them almost hand in hand when it comes to the ultimates. So we're going to see an early Valkyrie here by FD God. Used it just to keep his team alive. Yaki has to use his recall early. Big self-destruct comes sent in as well from Hanbin, but Hanbin immediately demeched once more. Florida just demolishing the front line here.
Yeah, they really are. They're playing very high tempo. Nico again can't get anything done because he's playing a low tempo hero. I don't know why they haven't swapped over to the mate to try and stall this out or to be able to play more aggressive. And FD God is still on Mercy, gets Death Blossom. Florida Mayhem are just demolishing them right now.
This
they
might
haven't
be
stopped.
it here, BQB on the Reaper. He might just be doing it. Those might falls to fate. A few stragglers left onto the cart here. Paris Eternal falling bit by bit, brick by brick. They can't really hold against the might of the Florida Mayhem, and that's going to be another map secured for them. They are leading this series 2-0.
Well, unexpected, but when you look at the compositions that Paris are playing and how they're playing them, it starts to make a lot more sense.
Yeah.
I hate to be so reductive, Bren, but May is a good hero.
May
right?
is a good hero, yeah.
It seems, you know, almost too simple to be reasonable analysis, but I really think if they'd opted for the May Reaper at any number of times throughout Rialto, they would have had a much better chance of being able to deal with the tempo that Florida Mayhem were actually playing at.
Yeah.
And instead, they play these low tempo heroes like the The Doomfist, which, okay, it's not that low tempo, but you absolutely need to find picks, otherwise it's pretty useless. And the Sombra, which definitely is a low tempo hero, and you just don't have the time. So this is a tough situation for Paris to be him.
Well, unexpected indeed, but it's time to see what the Watchpoint desk has to say with our game break. We're going to a short break, but we'll be back with the gameplay soon enough. Don't go anywhere.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, helping you stay connected to what matters most. Learn about T-Mobile's COVID-19 response on T-Mobile.com. And by State Farm. For auto, home, or renters insurance, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Game break presented by Pringles Wavy. My name is Zoe, and joining me are Custa as well as Reinforcing. Guys, the Mayhem currently up 2-0, and none of us expected this to happen. However, Hugo turns out to be a genius.
Hugo's so smart.
Are we now, since we gave Matt kind of, you know, flag for Hugo's pick, are we now giving Matt credit for Hugo's picks?
Absolutely not. No, this is all Hugo.
No. Okay, just asking for a friend, Matt being the friend. So no is the answer. But let's talk about why the Mayhem are currently looking so good. They are playing with Yakio and the Mei, and they just seem to get so much value out of it. Custa, how do they make it happen?
Yeah, I've been really impressed with this Florida Mayhem team. They have come in with their strategy. They're playing the Mei compared to the Doomfist, like we've seen a lot of other people play, and they make the Doomfist pick seem really questionable. And I want to give a lot of credit to Yaki and BQB. They're doing incredibly well, working very well together, and they're just making it so hard for Paris to just do anything. But I also want to give a special mention to the tanks of the Florida Mayhem as well. Fate and Gargoyle, their pulls, their accretions, everything that they have in their kit, they're using so well. This team just looks completely different to who we saw at the start of the season.
Yeah, well, reinforced. If we're looking at the other side here, Paris clearly struggling to dealing with the Mei, and they are sticking to their comp. They're sticking to the Reaper and the Doomfist, a comp which we saw other teams, they made it work. But Paris does not seem to get any value out of it. Should they stick to
No,
this?
I don't think you should stick with it. I mean, you're down 2-0, and at this point, you really have to try something else. I've heard, you know, from other sources that Florida Mayhem is a fantastic Hangzhou and Tracer team. And I think we saw in Rialto as well that when Florida Mayhem, when they brought out the Soldier and Tracer composition, they're really good with that. So I think that Paris Eternal, we want them to play the Mei Reaper composition. But I don't think Paris Eternal can play the Mei Reaper composition, because that just means that Florida Mayhem, they will adapt to the Mei Reaper and they're allowed to play that Hangzhou and Tracer. So I think this is a game of composition swaps. It's a bit like playing Torbjorn to prevent the enemy team from playing Tracer or playing Sombra. So in this case, Paris Eternal, they're in a tough spot. They cannot play the Mei Reaper because that allows Florida Mayhem to play the Hangzhou and Tracer. So they're sort of forced to play this Doomfist to prevent that composition swap. But as we see as a result, like Sideshow said on the cast, Nico is not finding the picks with the Doomfist, and as a result, Paris Eternal are crumbling. So there's a lot going on here behind the scenes with the hero swaps. I don't exactly know what the Paris Eternal should stick with moving forward. There's just too much going on, but this is just not working with the Doomfist.
Yeah, and I'm honestly a little bit surprised, considering that we know that Nico can play the Mei. In fact, he is very good on the Mei. So, yeah, the Doom not quite working for them. We had a lot of highlight-worthy moments, mainly coming out from the Florida Mayhem, and one of them made it into our crunch time presented by Pringles Wavy. However, in this specific play, Gargoyle has been given the credit, but Costa, it was all Chris, wasn't it?
Yeah, you know, just tank stealing all the support's credit, just like normal things. Yeah, so this is a crunchy play. You actually have to highlight Fate here as well. He has a phenomenal pull, pulls a lot of them up to the high ground, and you actually see Chris jump out the window, gets a boop, and you actually have almost no momentum once you get halted, so if you do get booped, you're going to go really far. This actually looks like a set play from everything that is set up, so it just goes to, goes to show the level of cohesion that this Florida Mayhem has right now with their composition. So you love to see it. This is amazing play by Florida Mayhem, and it's very crunchy, if I say so myself.
What I don't like as well,
Definitely very crunchy and crispy.
What I don't like as well
What is
is that Gargoyle stole these 2 kills when he already had ultimate charge, okay? Like, you just let Chris get those.
Gargoyle.
Chris get those, and he'll have the sound barrier up. I mean, there's so much going on there, you know? Analysis, pay attention, the details.
Just tank player
yeah, but
things,
that's what
right?
we're here for. Credit where credit's due. We're shouting out Chris because he deserves it. And if he doesn't get play of the game, we will riot. That's player of the match, rather. Well, that was our crunch time. Wonderful.
Get the Reddit post up. Let's go.
Presented by Pringles Wavy. Guys, we're heading into Numbani next. Very quick thought. What do we need to see from the Paris Eternal?
Just adaptation. As Johnny said, as he said, adaptation in any way. There is not one single answer. They need to play to their strengths. But what they're playing right now, the Doomfist,
Soon Tracer.
just ain't working. So switch.
Soon Tracer, maybe?
Yeah.
Maybe.
We'll see.
Soon Tracer, always a great sight. So let's see if they have something else for us and if they can bring it back in the second half. And for all the action, we once more head on over to Sideshow and Bren. The Overwatch League is brought to you by Pringles Wavy. Big crunch, big flavor. The Overwatch League is brought to you by HyperX. Unleash your style, unleash your fury, with HyperX Fury Memory. And by Coca-Cola, the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Overwatch League. We are halfway through the first series of the day between the Florida Mayhem and the Paris Eternal. And my word, what a series it is shaping up to be. Yeah. Florida Mayhem currently leading 2-0, but are not quite out just yet, the Paris Eternal. Josh, explain to us why. Take us on a little history lesson. It wasn't that long ago. Yeah, it's not really a history lesson.
It's a bit of history. I mean, this was week 5 history in the Overwatch League 2020. I want to take you back in time to when the Paris Eternal were playing that week in week 5. They played against the Houston Outlaws. They came in with hero pools, and they didn't have a good read on the meta. They were playing Tracer with the Sombra. They didn't really get much done. They got 3-0'd by the Houston Outlaws. Huge upset. They come around the very next day. They play totally different compositions, and they dominated. They did really, really well against the Philadelphia Fusion, ended up closing out that series 3-2. And that's what this coaching staff, I think, is capable of doing. Now, in week 5, they had a whole day to be able to turn that around. In this match, they only have, what, a 10-minute break that we just had for that halftime to be able to turn things around. But I think they definitely need some kind of different strategy moving forwards.
As we take a look at the maps, of course, we're going to be heading into Numbani. It's a bit of a fan favorite. It's a personal favorite of mine as well.
Yeah, it's a great map.
Really like it. Quite a unique layout. It's set up quite nicely for a variety of weird and wacky scenarios that we might see. And that's what these teams are going to be battling it out on. We'll see if Paris can complete the reverse sweep. It will start here, if anywhere, whether with a draw or a win.
This map is a little bit different to the others that we've seen so far. It's not as suited to the main Reaper compositions, purely because point A has ridiculous high ground for the defenders. So if you're running a May Reaper on offense or defense, you have to give up the high ground to be able to get down, or you have to make big looping rotations in order to take control of the high ground. So I could see Paris playing something slightly different here, but it looks like we're, for the moment, going to be going for a May Reaper duel. I thought it was really interesting what Reinforce was talking about on the desk as well, that he believes that the Paris Eternal were playing the Reaper Doomfist in order to stop Florida coming out with a Tracer Hangzhou, because BQB and Yaki, very good on those heroes. So that's an interesting dynamic at play here as well, that if Paris do run too much of this May Reaper, we might see a new evolution of the mini meta game between these two teams and see Florida pull out some more damage dealing heroes.
Paris going to be opting to mirror them. Nico going to be moving over to the May, as we've already said. Nico has a very good May on him, and Florida going to be sticking with the composition that's been doing them so well so far this series. As you can see on the top of the scores, if you're just joining us, no, your eyes aren't deceiving you. Florida Mayhem are currently leading 2-0, but Paris have been in this situation before, and they have battled back. We'll see if they can do it again as the teams begin to clash now onto the high ground. An early May wall by Nico. FD gets caught out of position though! And that wasn't anyone's ice wall, that was actually their own that actually forced his position and out of the way. Florida have a pick, but Nosmite is going to be answering with one of his own. Gargoyle going down. We'll see if they can do any more damage. You can see pretty much an even fight, but no speed boost available for the Paris Eternal. They can only work with their raw movement speed, but FD God, he's back in the fight. Remember, he's a zippy, zoomy little demon. Ready to get back into the fight very quickly with the speed boost.
Okay, we're learning more about the
lore.
The lore of Lucio, apparently.
Would you let me write
demon
the
frog
of
possessed his body? Not if that's the kind of stuff you're going to come out with. I won't be able to sleep at night. FD God's got to be careful there, because the Paris Eternal won that fight because they had a huge defender's advantage. When Florida were coming through the choke point, they managed to trade the kill onto Gargoyle, and then collapse on them when they're on the low ground. But if FD God dies like that, it gives Florida Mayhem such a huge opportunity to get in.
Alas, but it is Numbani. Nice little hold comes in. Great boop as well.
Great play.
Knocked a few of them onto the low ground. The Coalescence is able to get a lot of work done, and the Florida Mayhem are walking forwards with it. Paris have to play aggressively. They have to get some picks of their own, otherwise it's all going to be for naught. But Yaki is there to beat down FD God. He falls to pieces, and the mighty fist of May and Yaki. I mean, he loves it, doesn't he? He absolutely loves it. Someone's got to be having a word with him.
Yeah, that's a bit cheeky. I love that play, though, from Fate and Chris. The exact same thing that we saw on Rialto. The halt into the boop to take control of the high ground. On Rialto, it landed them with 2 insta-kills because they went straight into the canal. But it basically did the same here because control of the high ground is absolutely everything on Numbani. And now Yaki looks like he's in a cheeky little position to get max value out of this Blizzard.
Well, about 4 minutes remaining on the time bank here. Plenty of time for Florida to work with. The Blizzard comes out. Don't believe it connected onto anyone. Someone got frozen off onto the edge there. It was Hanbin, but he works his way out. BQB is in the back line, ready to peel. He takes out Nico. Here comes the Death Blossom as well. Puts in a lot of damage. Let's see if the Florida Mayhem can really just pressure them now as the Supercharger comes down. And it should be curtains for them, but Paris Eternal do not want to give it up in the slightest. They're going to be using both of their support ults now, forcing out a couple of ultimates from the Florida Mayhem as the Gravitic Flux comes out and takes out Hanbin. Florida look to be in control of this fight, especially with the amount of damage they're able to pump in as well. They have the player advantage, and as a result, they're going to be winning the team fight. Gray tries to do some sneaky little plays once more, as he's just waiting, just buying a few more seconds, but overall, the Florida Mayhem obviously coming out on top of that one.
Yeah, Gunham Jin bags and tags him towards the end there as well. And Paris, I don't think they're going to have a great opportunity to recontest. They might just go for it because you might as well if you've got an opportunity to group as 6. But it's not looking great for them. Florida Mayhem have just stormed through this and they don't even touch in time.
Oh, no. It's a disaster. Florida.
And now they've invested their shield and their May wall just to try and touch. Florida Mayhem have a huge momentum here and ability cooldowns.
Brutal situation if you're a Paris fan, because now they have to go back in. Really have too many cooldowns to use. The Blizzard, once again used by Yaki here, but it's actually Hanbin across the map. Accretion takes out BQB, sets him up for a nice little kill here, and that is the go button. Paris, they need to win a team fight here, and it seems like they are just going to be doing just that. The Coalescence from Gray will be washing down the opposition. A lot of damage being put into them, but they have to play a little bit more passive here. Is Florida going to be answering back now? A huge Gravitic Clutch connects onto so many. Forces out the sound barrier from Paris. They have to try and fight back into this one. FD God using his own ultimate, try and keep them back into the fight, but Paris have to disengage, using the May wall defensively as well. And this gives Florida an opportunity. You can see how forward they are playing right now, just playing super aggressive, trying to play into the pace, take the tempo in their own hands. Now another Blizzard by Nico though. Paris are going to be separating Florida Mayhem, and they should be able to take care of the backline. Or not. I mean, it's going to be the one-for-one trade. Very chaotic, very scrappy, but it seems like Florida Mayhem are the ones coming out on top.
It certainly does, with the Coalescence in play now as well, and No Smite getting slowly chunked down. The Florida Mayhem eventually pushed this one forwards, mostly because Soon was dropped in the previous sound barrier from FD God, and that momentum is just so crucial. Florida have been great at just keeping the tempo high this entire time. Now it's about playing patient. Oh, Soon, great boop there from Chris as well, pushes the Death Blossom further away as they look to close out the map.
Yep, they're just playing passive now. Gray forced to switch over to Batiste to try and contest this one. Fate uses a Supercharger, that's risky. He was only on 50 HP, and it was in a poor position. Instantly destroyed. You don't want that out of your Supercharger. This gives Paris an opening now. As you can see, the Accretion comes flying out, takes out Gargoyle, sets him up for the kill at least. Gray able to pump in superior healing damage as well, but the Blizzard comes out from Florida, and it's going to be locking down the Paris Eternal, ready for them to try and get these pickoffs. Nico then sends in his own Blizzard, see if they can lock down any of the members of the Florida Mayhem, to see if they can counteract what they're throwing at them right now. But it seems like the Florida Mayhem, like a swarm of bees or perhaps hornets, just really covering and smothering any sort of straggling member of Paris they can find. All they got to do is clean up the last few players who are waiting onto this point, and this is going to be their fight to win here. Potential clutch here, maybe from Soon, as he has found one kill, but he is going to be falling as well. As soon as they take out Nico off to the side, this might be over.
This has been such a long, scrappy affair. Yeah, the fact that BQB died has made it so much more difficult for them to actually be able to find picks. And Hanbin coming back on the ball is going to stagger it out a little bit, but okay. I think Florida are starting to get people back together here. This should have always been their fight to win.
Yeah, there you go.
A little lack of patience there towards the end from the Florida Mayhem, and they rushed players in a little too much, but they still complete it with an enormous time bank, honestly. Florida obliterating. This has been a very one-sided match.
That was an interesting one as well. I mean, there were opportunities for Paris to try and clutch that one. Nose might manage to get the Supercharger out. They weren't really destroying it, but Florida managed to get it together towards the end there. And as you said, Josh, they have obliterated this map. They have a 1 minute 41 time on them. Barney, These days, with the sort of compositions that teams are playing, it feels actually quite rare to almost see a full completion of some maps. You often see the defending side has such a massive advantage when it comes to playing compositions like this double shield, utilizing the May as well. But this time Florida really just cemented themselves as quite a dominant team.
Yeah.
Special thank you, of course, to our friends at TeamSpeak for all the hard work they put into helping making these online matches happen. Be sure to use the code listed below. It's called OWLSpeak20 to redeem your own Overwatch League badge in the TeamSpeak Client. So you can be one of the cool kids with a special little emblem next to your name, you know?
Nice.
Josh has got about
I've always
20.
wanted to be cool, Brent. I've always wanted to be cool.
Yeah.
But alas, it eludes me.
What do you mean?
I just can't pull it off.
Yeah,
can't pull it off. I'm a nerd at heart,
that automatically puts you in a cool kids club. Don't worry.
Okay, thank you.
You're already there. Get the backstage.
All right, let's see what the Paris Eternal come out with on the offense. Seems like they're going to scout at the beginning. I wouldn't expect them to be running the Sombra and the Symmetra the entire time. It's not a composition that we really see. And
just scouting, yeah.
Okay, the Pharah is what they're going to go with here. It can be an effective way of breaking point A. Not that effective at being able to break the future points, though. And you lose the opportunity to build up a big ultimate like the Blizzard.
Yeah, we are no strangers to seeing Pharah on this first point. Florida know exactly what to do. Look at the aggression that they're putting out here. Yep. They play straight into Paris. They don't let them, well, don't give them the opportunity to set up. That could have cost them. Chris goes down, and they do get the resurrect onto Nosemind, which means they're at a player disadvantage now.
That's a big mistake.
Oh my goodness, Nico, he's got the wrap around to 2020. Look at him go! The damage boosted rockets are brutal to beat down. His own little fist is going to be doing the work here with the damage boost on top. It doesn't matter if the rockets don't really secure the kills because the Paris have unlocked this first point. What a critical mistake there from Florida.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate. Chris going down just to a damage-boosted rocket when he was at the front of his team. All of your defense there is about the Lucio speed boost and how you move backwards and forwards. You know, trying to sit backwards when you think that the enemy team is not too close to you and then rush into them when they are. BQB now makes a swap over to the Soldier 76. Lock in the legs. And he's going to try and deal with Nico.
Holt comes into the backline. Nico using the barrage up in the air. Almost into the skybox. He gets taken out by the Helix rocket. BQB sets him off with the fadeaway. Now the teams are going to be clashing under the guise of the Coalescence. And it seems like Paris Eternal are the ones who are completely in control of this one. Gray, nicely done. He had the damage boost on top of that. Damage boost of a Coalescence is an absolutely horrific combo to be going up against. It will just tear through absolutely anything. Shields don't stop it. You need something crazy. You need like a shield that blocks Coalescence. Doesn't exist.
Okay, no, that doesn't exist. Tell you what does exist, though, a May on both sides. A May Reaper, in fact, because BQB's made the swap when as soon as he saw that Nico moved back over to the May. And now, the only difference is FD God is running Mercy instead of Lucio, so that's not going to be very effective for them.
Flux used by Hanbin. He's looking for an opportunity to get some good value out here, but effectively Florida Mayhem dodge it pretty well here. Now you can see them going into the back line. Gargoyle very, very low, but meanwhile the front line is being taken out. Yaki's going to try and get a kill onto Soon. He does indeed trade it, but Paris Eternal far too strong. They are able to take the second checkpoint.
Way too many ultimates there for Florida Mayhem to be able to stop things totally, but I am still surprised that FD God is staying on this Mercy. No, okay, now he goes back to spawn, moves over to the Lucio. That's much more effective for the compositions that they're running. And Paris have a great opportunity here. I mean, look at the time available to them. They have made perfect use of their momentum exactly as Florida did.
This could be a world record, could be the 112, could be the time we were looking for Paris to try and come back with. Florida Mayhem using their supercharger, using the Coalescence. The Holt doesn't really combo with much, but still a great opportunity for them as they brought down Soon. All frozen up though. Nico getting a lot of lockdown of his Blizzard, but no kills to be found. It doesn't really matter when Hanbin's hitting off the shots. Still trading out the ultimates. Gargoyle using his Gravitic Flux to set up a couple of them here, as you can see. Wee little orbs and the fists of an elderly 60-year-old man who can't quite remember his first name. Somehow strong.
Yeah, but he's got a good left hook on him.
Yeah, he really does. Have you ever looked at how swole Sigma is?
Yeah, he's unbelievably built.
Yeah, it's actually ridiculous for an old man like that.
Yeah, I've got a granddad like that actually, but you know, plays a lot of sports. Very ripped for an old man.
You've got to stay in shape when you're in those anti-gravity environments. A lot of people don't know this, but your spine will start to deteriorate. Anyway, the teams are clashing. We see the Blizzard's going to be used here by Yaki, and it locks him up, and that is going to be an instant team fight win here by Florida Mayhem. Wonderful stuff.
But you look at the amount of ultimates that were used there, and okay, they only used 2 ults, but their others were nowhere near to being online. And so now they come into the next fight with, what, a Death Blossom to be able to counter the Supercharge, to be able to counter the Gravitic Flux, the double support ult. So they're deliberately holding really far forwards because they know they will lose a normal fight. So they have to make something different happen. And look, Soon, the sneaky little beggar, straight into the back.
He's doing it again, and he's forced Paris into a beautiful position. The pincer movement, Florida's positioning was compromised. They had to back off to contest the point, and they've fallen like flies one at a time. Oh no, that is brutal. But a wonderful little outplay there by Soon, doing what he does best. That's what he's famous for. He's done it so many times, going for the back cap attempts. And Paris are rolling this card in. Can anyone even touch this one? BQB is in the back line. He's going to try and TP onto the point. He is going to at least force the contest so they don't get the cap straight away. Death Blossom comes out. FT God going to be using the sound barrier though. Counteracted up, and they're just pushing this one in. It's sailing all the way home. The Gravitic Flux only connects onto one from the side of Florida, but they are getting the spawners up. Paris, though, going to be using that Blizzard to lock them down, and if anybody wants to contest, they're going to have to walk straight into that death trap, and they're going to be getting 2 minutes 42 on the clock. What a record time here for Paris, just answering back at Florida's time their own.
Yeah, that's an incredible performance coming out from the Parisian team. To add another minute on the clock when the first 2 maps and your defense was just appalling in terms of how you were staying close to the Florida Mayhem, they've been blown out of Oasis and Rialto. So this is a great response for them.
Yep.
And we're seeing that the Florida Mayhem really didn't have some specific counter comp to run, at least on Numbani, against the May Reaper from the Paris Eternal. So perhaps the rest of this match will just be the mirror. The double shield May Reaper mirror. And that gives Paris many, many more options. I feel like they're such a better team at being able to execute that when Nico's on the May than when he is on the Doomfist. And they still have these other little fruity options for how to crack open Numbani on their own offense. Yeah, that's what I would call a Hangzhou or Reaper with a Pharah. Reaper Pharah, that's a pretty fruity comp.
Yeah. Tasty indeed.
Citrusy.
Citrusy. You know, you got to get your citrus in. You don't want to catch scurvy. Always a risk when we're in quarantine right now, you know?
Yeah, I was actually worried about that recently, so I've been eating as many bell peppers as I can.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that. Bell peppers, a better source of vitamin C than an oranges.
Yep.
So, there you go. If you want to try and stay
this,
healthy,
this nutritional message, this nutritional message brought to you by the Bell Pepper Gang.
Eat your bell peppers, everybody. Unless you're allergic, then don't.
Like so he is, actually.
Yeah. Well, Florida Mayhem going to be opting for a high ground approach. And as you can see, they're trying to beat them. Nice May wall comes out from Nico. They have to break through it here, but it is a cluster on the top ropes. Who knows who's coming out on top in this one? And it seems like it's Paris, actually, from the look of the kill feed. But the way those fights turn, Josh, I'm going to be real with you. I see particle effects, I see freezes, I see shields, I see walls, and you know, I just see red. I start seeing bloodlust. You know,
the biggest difference there between the two teams is that the Florida Mayhem are forced to push through a tiny, tiny little choke point. So all of the damage that comes out from the Paris Eternal is funneled into one very predictable location, and they're able to just get way more damage done, way more multi-freezing done as well. Paris' ults are going to start ticking up. The only big one that Florida have available is this Coalescence from Gangnam Jin. That one has to do work with 30 seconds left.
Couple of shots from BQB, tries to chunk them down. The Coalescence does work. Nico very close to his Blizzard. He might need it to try and salvage this fight. You can see the Coalescence just keeping them, both teams up actually. The heals coming through being the most important aspect of that, but it seems like Florida are the ones who are shaping up to be the top dogs on this point. BQB happily just shredding through them with the shotguns. The Hulk just pulling them all towards him, and it's going to be 3 kills for him. I gotta say as well, people are going to be looking at the bigger picture of this match so far, and if Florida do end up taking it, they're probably going to be saying, you know, BQB, what a guy, what an MVP. But you got to remember, it's a team effort, and Florida have been playing well as a team. Yaki with the halts, Yaki with the freezes, and Fate with the halts have been a huge setup. Gargoyle as well, being able to combo up his accretion with any halts he finds, and Chris the boops.
Yeah, Florida Mayhem, all of their players have been running at 100% so far this match. And look at the ult bank that they have. Just 6 ults up for them. Paris Eternal are not going to have their coalescence available, but they will build it up at some point over the course of this fight. So this next battle is going to be monumental.
Here we have it. Gravitic Flux from Hampin tries to set it up, but the tempo has been set. Florida Mayhem just unleash a whole chest load of ultimates. Gangnam Jin, look at that, baby. 4 kills for you. You deserve it. Go on. Take a seat. Take a load off.
4 ultimates used there for the Florida Mayhem, and I feel like that was a bit of a bait play from Paris Eternal. Just using the Flux and accepting that they're going to lose that fight, but going to come in here with 5 ults versus 2. And unless the Flux and the Blizzard can do something ridiculous from Florida, or they have BQB hiding in some off position, and actually Yaki is hiding in an off position. If the Blizzard does enough work, possibility, but no, BQB and Yaki fall way too early.
The Blizzard does actually get out. That was the important factor, and it kind of pushes Paris apart. They can't really contest this too effectively. Gargle finds 1 kill, but it seems like Paris might be the ones who are coming out on top. That little bait play earlier, forcing out the ultimates from Paris, or from Florida, I should say, has paid dividends. Almost twice-fold, as they're going to get that full hold here just before point B. And it's always a little bit of a risk there when you don't commit as much, when you bait the enemy team into using too many ults, especially in those overtime situations. Because if you mess up, then suddenly you've just gifted them a full checkpoint almost for free. So sometimes you see teams just opt into just essentially unleashing every ultimate at their disposal to try and win that one team fight. But Paris playing quite conservative.
Yep, Paris with the smart play, with the benefit of hindsight. Don't go for the even fight with ultimates up across the board, but set themselves up, you know, give up a little bit of payload progress, make sure that you lock it down. Now with 2 minutes 42, at the speed at which Paris attacked previously, they should win this map. But Florida Mayhem made a fairly pivotal error on their point A defense and just gave away Chris's life immediately to the Pharah. So if that mistake gets rectified, we might see a very different point A hold, because Florida otherwise had a pretty decent plan. They were playing very aggressive, high tempo. They were crushing the tanks of the Paris Eternal. It was just that slip up from Chris, eating a damage boosted rocket that cracked open point A. Yep. And again, Paris are going to go for this scouting with the Symmetra and the Sombra, just to make sure that Florida aren't running anything weird. They're not pulling out this strange Tracer Hangzhou for the final fight.
I gotta say, Chris dying to that damage boosted rocket reminds me a lot of the first talent takedown, where you were playing Lucio.
Oh, yeah?
Wandered straight into Hotel of King's Row and died immediately at the start of the fight.
Are you comparing me to Chris? Because I'll take that.
Sure. Yeah, why not? Take it. Free compliments. Hand them out all week. They're going to be making a switch now. Paris Eternal going over to the Pharah Reaper composition. What they used to crack open the first time.
Same thing. And I would anticipate the same response here from the Florida Mayhem. They're going to play really aggressive, try and crush the tank line of Paris, and then back off.
Rocket's being sent to the back. This time they seem to be prioritizing staving off Nico a lot more than they are.
But look, as soon as the tanks are forwards, now Florida go forwards. But they've lost Gangnam Jin immediately.
Yeah, losing those players is not good. But they do get 3 kills off the back of it. Gangnam Jin going down, though, is not ideal. Because remember, you know, he's playing your Moira. You want your Moira to be up, so he's building up the coalescence. And Nico is just getting these stray kills. Chris goes down.
Chris goes down again. That's really, really unfortunate. I mean, losing both of your supports, especially your Lucio, because it's what defines how this defensive composition works, is going to be a problem for them. Yes, Chris is going to come fast out of the spawn, but now Paris have all of the high ground control.
Yep. And Chris is back in the fight, but as you said, it's the positioning that's important. And Paris, they have all of it. They're on the high ground, raining these rockets down from above. Nico is the one setting up his team for the kills. You can see a defensive ice wall being used here by Yaki, but he's trapped. Poor May, trapped behind the counter. No, he's not here to sell you anything. He's actually here to just give away his life. And it's going to be Paris Eternal, the ones on top of this team fight. Not able to get a checkpoint just yet, but they are in complete control as soon as they clean up the last few members of Florida.
Soon disappearing there with 11 health, unable to find a healer, and because he has to disappear, that allows the Florida Mayhem to regroup a little bit, and now I'm worried.
Don't tell me this. DQB, he had free reign, as you mentioned, Josh, because Soon was backing off with a health pack. They have an opening to work with here. Fate, though, goes down. Blizzard going to be used. Nico on top has to use the barrage, and he finds so many kills. 4 for him. Nico, God hand, clutching up when it was getting a little bit sweaty.
Yeah, that is perfect as well, because the Blizzard and the Supercharger, arguably the two best ultimates for the Florida Mayhem, have now also been expended. And so, 25 seconds on the clock. We will be having fights in overtime here, but the Paris Eternal are in a reasonable position. I must say I'm a little surprised that Nico hasn't switched over to the May so that they have this direct fight, but really he's going to continue to apply pressure. That is
so interesting. Nico just wants to be sticking onto the fire, raining into the rockets. Florida, the onus is on them to play high tempo. You can see Nosmite going to be using his own Supercharger, laying it down with a Gravitic Flux. It's so much damage, but they're all frozen up, and it's anyone's game. Traded out. Florida Mayhem seem to be the ones who are coming out on top now. The kills flowing for them, but Nico's still alive. Resurrect came out. FD he manned up. He got the Resurrect here onto Nosmite. Bringing up the Orisa could be critical. Nice little card pressure. They're unable to bring him down, and that leaves time for the spawners to come through. Florida Mayhem, they have to coordinate. They have to try and get a couple of picks here. Otherwise, they're going to get ran over here by the Paris Eternal. Using their sound barrier now to try and work their way back into this fight. But I'm afraid it might just be futile soon. Moving over to one of his signature heroes, the Tracer. Desperately trying to clutch this one up when his team needs it most. Goes for the 1v1 now against Yaki. Two formidable opponents not choosing to take the direct confrontation. Florida, they back off. Look for another
barrage available here as well, though, Bren.
Here we
the barrage could be absolutely huge from Nico.
It's got to be huge. Nico goes for the concussion blast, sets himself forward. The barrage comes out. He gets brought down. No, BQB was there. He peppered him down from the sky. He was a walking target. Not quite walking, but maybe flying in the air. And that might have just sealed the deal. Florida are dominant. They are inevitable, and it seems like they are going to almost clinch this series. There you have it, 3-0. The Paris Eternal going to be bowing out. What a series by the Florida Mayhem. That is fantastic, honestly. I love to see that.
Yeah, absolutely great use of the terrain there to be able to get close to the point with their May Reaper composition and take the fight, force out ultimates, make Nico fairly useless. Great Resurrect, though, coming out from FD God, brings up Nosmite towards the end. I thought the Paris Eternal had been able to do it, and Yaki switches over to the Tracer and showcases why the Florida Mayhem had been so afraid of running those compositions before, because Yaki's Tracer dominated towards the end there. He cleaned up everybody across the point, and Florida Mayhem come out with an outrageously dominant win against one of the best Atlantic teams right now.
Well, if we take a look at our player of the match presented by Xfinity, we had a bit of a discussion over this one, Josh, but in the end I think we ended up giving it to Yaki. I think in terms of individual performances, Yaki had a good one, but honestly you could have made an argument for a lot of people on the side of Florida Mayhem. Could have made an argument for Fate, maybe BQB, even Chris from time to time as well. So Florida Mayhem really stepping up. Yaki, though, is the one who we've chosen to bestow the greatest of honors to.
The greatest of honors, and I think he deserves it for his Tracer clutch towards the end, and generally how he was able to play the May here today. And this overall, though, was a great team experience for the Florida Mayhem. They were 2-4 coming into this match. They were a team that a lot of people had already written off as one of the bottom feeders. But I think this team has a lot of untapped potential. They've had a really, really tough schedule so far. They've gone up against some of the best teams in the league. They've gone up against the Philadelphia Fusion, the NYXL, the Atlanta Reign. And yes, they lost to those teams. But this has not been easy for them so far. And now with this win over Paris, I think people are going to start taking the Florida Mayhem much more seriously.
Yeah, absolutely. An astounding match overall, but the action, it doesn't end just there. We've got two more matches coming up. Just going to tease the next one because you may have heard the term El Clasico thrown around, from time to time, but this one is certainly going to be living up to it. Of course, it is going to be Boston versus Toronto. Two teams who, Josh, you made the comment, you said, people thought Florida was the bottom of the barrel. These two teams, though, my goodness, I am anticipating chaos. I'm expecting big plays. I'm expecting new storylines to be born. This is going to be the makings of a match you do not want to miss. I'm thoroughly looking forward to it.
Yeah, it should be a fantastic one, if for all the wrong reasons. Yeah. I think it's going to be a really exciting
match. Don't say that, Josh. It's all the right reasons. Everyone just wants to
all
see
the right reasons. True.
Some it's like, try and think of some analogies here for what we're about to witness.
I think we're going to see just players playing. I don't think we're going to see teams playing. We're going to see players playing.
Individual
that
mechanics.
That is peak Overwatch.
Yep. Coming out to play and coming out to shine. But enough about us teasing the upcoming match. We're going to go to a quick break, but when we come back, we will have that match coming. Do not go anywhere. We'll see you shortly.